Welcome to today's student journey walkthrough. We're going to have an amazing, very extensive, very detailed conversation about what rapid transformational therapy is and really what this program was built for, who it was built for, what are the most common experiences that people have, and investigate all of these incredible nooks and crannies of the program. And we're going to be led here by Sian Peer, Marisa's sister, who is the director of Rapid Transformational Therapy and helped build so much of the curriculum that all of our graduates get to experience. And I'm so excited. Even I've never gotten this full walkthrough. And so this is such a privilege for me, and I know it's such a privilege for everybody else here. Really excited to just explore. Make sure to keep the chat super active. If anybody here has already experienced RTT, or if you're a grad, go ahead and pop something in the chat. What was the experience that you had? Have you been tuning to us in YouTube? Are you from Instagram? Where in the world are you experiencing RTT and Marisa and the brand at? And make sure to pop in questions regularly as we go. I'm going to be really going through a lot of different questions with Sian, but I'm just super pumped to see what questions you all have, and I'll try to pepper those in throughout everything next to my own curiosity. And yeah, just really excited to get all these answers and hear the full journey. So Sian, a little bit before we get into the program, can you give us a little bit of your own background? So something you were just getting into there is it's so common that people in general believe that everyone's lives are pretty good, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And the reality is that everyone has their own issues and their own problems, just like any individual hearing this does, right? And so what's your background and why did this become part of your life's work?
Yeah, that's a really great question, isn't it? Because I think Marisa and I started our journey pretty much together. So we both went into therapy, and then I decided that that wasn't really for me at that time. And Marisa's gone on to do absolutely amazing things, and not just therapy. It's her disruption of the profession. That's the big thing that Marisa's done, is disrupted the profession and found another way. And I think that we're very similar like that. So for me, one of the things I'm incredibly passionate about is the person at the end. I used to always talk about Debbie Jones. Hopefully there is no Debbie Jones in Bournemouth. But my whole point was, if Debbie Jones doesn't feel the benefit of what we're doing, why are we doing it? And so for about 20 years, if not a bit more, I went off, I did a PhD in identity and belonging. So this core element of who are we? What makes us? What's important to us? How do we become the best version of ourselves? How do we live the life that we think we deserve? And belonging was so important for me. And so then I worked for about 25 years with central government, local governments, designing frontline services. So I was really passionate about working with people who were incredibly vulnerable, who had really complex life stories, and that we used to talk about poverty, and this was a big thing at the time, poverty of aspiration. I felt desperate with some of these people, that they couldn't see any of the beauty of any of the strengths that they possessed. And I made it my mission was to identify strengths in other people that they don't believe even exist, that they can't even see are there. And so I did that for a long time, and I learned an incredible amount about people's belief systems, how they operated in the world, the feeling of real barriers and blocks of getting in the way, of writing yourself off, of thinking that there is nothing else possible for you, and that life had somehow dealt you this hand, and you were just, let's call it, stuck in your own story, and that there was nothing else possible. And I loved doing that work. I met incredible people. I always say I learned as much as they learned from me. But then to come back into this world and create the school, the thing that makes me really, really passionate is that through this training, I know that everybody that trains with us is the equivalent of a microservice. They are out doing amazing work with people, helping them to see what's possible. And one of the ways that we see what's possible is we have to understand how we got to where we are. And I really love this this phrase. I say this a lot to myself. It wasn't my phrase, but I love it. That people need to look at their mess, understand that their message. So everything that we look back on, I do lots of exercises for myself, like join my dots, of capturing key moments in life and thinking when things weren't going well, that life wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. That again, I felt I hadn't got a fair hand, is to join those dots to make sense of it. And I suddenly realized that all of the mess, the stuff that had happened to me, became my message. That I was able then to speak really from my heart, that I knew that whatever I was standing behind was true. It was true to me. I don't like the word authentic, but that I was able to come into something that I was incredibly passionate about and design this method, because it's the school, it's the method, it's an approach, it's a customer experience. And we mustn't forget that the biggest change that happens is the change that happens to yourself during the program. And it's such a positive impact. It impacts your partners, it impacts your children, it impacts your family, it impacts everything, because your mindset's so different. You now know what's possible. And actually working with people in whatever form is a bit of an aphrodisiac. You know, it's realizing you can make a change with somebody in their life, and that seeing somebody go off and take steps in that direction is really powerful. So yeah, I think I've had a lifetime of working with people who are at the margins, who are in the most complex situations, people with children with multiple health disorders, people whose family, for all sorts of reasons unbeknown to them, get involved in the child protection services, the criminal justice service. So people that have a wall coming at them, and then being able to just create a space for people to think, to reflect, back to what we were saying about therapy, providing a space through a new path. I mean, that's really, I love that. I mean, I feel that that's such a privilege, and that's the buzz that everybody gets when you're doing the work. That is such a buzz to know that you're helping somebody. I don't think there's a much greater feeling that you can get.
I have so many questions to branch off into, and I'm going to try to get through these as quickly as I can. But the first one is, and I'm seeing a lot of comments and I'm seeing a lot of questions where people are asking and sort of stating different life stories. And in your experience, you've actively been a part of at least 10, 12, 15,000 people coming through various programs, all the way from I Am Enough and hypnosis tracks to people going through full RTT certification. And generally speaking, is there a type of person that just should not do this? And then past that, who are the types of people that you see the most profound transformations in personally, and then become incredible RTT therapists? And I'm sure the answer is like a lot of different people, but could you sort of paint that picture and maybe share one of your favorite student stories?
Yeah, and so I think the interesting thing is the training as well. I have another phrase where I say, don't confuse simplicity with a lack of sophistication. So at some level, we might say that this process that has been created is so easy for people to work through the process. It is almost a process-led methodology. It's taken all of the best components of the major programs that are out there: Gestalt, solution-focused, psychotherapy. And if you think about psychotherapy as being hinged on, in the very first moments, Freud, everybody knows Freud, and being hinged on working with the unconscious mind. So at some level, I could say anyone can do this if you are committed. And on the other hand, I would say people need to find their compelling reason for doing it, because it takes work. So it is a process. We absolutely invest in you. I think that's what makes us very different from other people. We invest in you as an individual going through this program. We're interested in your backstory. We're interested in what you're bringing into the program. We're interested in trying to help you move past your own limitations, because it's all about dealing with that. Marissa's work is all about looking into the root cause, but you can't go through the program without doing work. So one of my cautionary notes might be somebody that's at the place where they absolutely know that they really need quite a lot of therapy themselves. Because it's a bit like, I don't know if you have Ronseal. In the UK, we have a lot of products that are called Ronseal, and their logo is, it does what it says on the tin. RTT does what it says on the tin. It gets to the root cause of your problems. If you think you can come into the training and you can hide some element about yourself, like deep down in your left foot, I'm going to hide the trauma I had as a young person, that won't be possible. It will arise, because this is the time, this is the opportunity that the universe is presenting to you to work with your own stuff. You can't keep that down. But I would say that on occasion, people are in a place where they really need to do some of that first. Go and sort out some of it, because if every time you're putting someone into hypnosis, you're having a surge of emotions yourself, that's quite difficult, because then you cannot be there for your client, and that's the main thing. Otherwise, do you know, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. The people that do this well, it's people that have that, as I say, compelling reason. What's your motivation? What is it you're trying to get out? Is it that you want to forge a connection with other people? Because this is absolutely the right place for that. We have an amazing community. Other people are maybe 3 steps ahead of you, and they will share all of their wisdom, all of their learning, all of their knowledge. If you can receive constructive feedback, it's the right place for you. People that want financial freedom, I've heard been coaching a lot of people recently, and that's coming up time and time again. Financial freedom means you have to also do the work, but this is a space for that. If you want to control your own diaries, if you want to be spending more time with your family, if you want to be working the hours that you want, charging what you want, to a huge degree, that's a possibility. So people are looking for that. I think if there's people who are already therapists, and we have a lot of this, so people who are existing therapists that may, let's say, be slightly jaded, that they're seeing clients for a contracted period of time and not getting the results they want, this is incredible for them. It's like it shortcuts you. So maybe classic psychotherapy, 15, 20 sessions condensed into 1 or 2 sessions to get to this root cause. So it's that. If you want to have a professional status, lots of people come in and feel they missed their window, if that makes sense. They didn't do classic learning. They didn't go to uni. They didn't get the degree. They've been very good in their roles, but they don't have professional status. A therapist as a professional status is a lovely thing to have, and a lot of people go for that. But I don't think there's been many people who have been drawn into this as a profession that have not had the ability. So there's a difference between capacity and ability, isn't there? So one is, do I have the ability to do this? I would say most people have. The second is, do I have the capacity to do this? Meaning, do I have the time to commit to it? Do I have the support from other people? Am I willing to take on board this constructive feedback? Am I willing to learn? Am I willing to put myself back in the space of being a learner? Am I willing to be vulnerable? That's a big question. Are you willing to be vulnerable? Because in vulnerability is where we find all of our strength. We find our edge. We find our uniqueness. We find our niches. We find what we're good at. And so people who I've been really wowed by, there's so many different stories. I mean, people that have come in their 3rd wave, people who have been teachers their entire, so I've got 2 people in mind that were teachers, and actually they came the wife came first, and then the husband came and trained with us because he saw such an impact. So people who had been teachers, who are used to imparting information, had spent their life trying to help young people achieve goals, and had reached life where they'd retired, and they suddenly thought, I don't know if I want to do this retirement. There's still more to me. So this is about them, isn't it? I still have more to give. I've learned all of this information. I need to find the tool that allows me to convey what I know to other people. And so, yeah, wife came first and did it. Husband came after and have done it. And they have both really blossomed in so many ways because they have a career in their, let's call it their third trimester, that they weren't expecting to get. And they are loving it. And I think one of them actually goes in some of our Facebook groups sometimes and posts just how blessed he feels in doing this work. And I think that's what you come back to when you are searching for meaning in your own life. One of the most beautiful ways is to create meaning in other people's lives. And so I can't tell you that there are people who don't want to do that. They probably wouldn't be drawn to us in the first place. Even if you're thinking, well, I want financial freedom, it's usually because you're also saying, because I want to take care of my family, I want to spend more time with my family, I want to be a better parent. And so the financial freedom is actually couched in this, I want to look after other people, I want to help other people. So we've had amazing people that have done IT. And you know, the reason why I think IT technical type people do so well is because they're used to a manual sort of approach, very binary. Do I do this or I don't? Okay, what do I need to do next? Okay, do this. They're very able to follow the formula, follow the instructions. And they have less reticence about navigating digital systems. And for some people, that's more of a problem. So we could say that people in their third trimester don't want to use Zooms, they don't want to learn online, but we make it so easy and fun. I think you cannot forget that it's fun. It's an amazing experience. It's an indulgence to be able to say, do you know what? I'm taking this time for myself now because I know I've got something to give and I'm going to start a new career. That's wonderful. We have hairdressers. We had one of the ladies that came to one of our live events. She was a cleaner. And she was just so, I'm going to call her ballsy, but her people supported her, sponsored her to come on the programme. If you think about her life, she knew every inside story, everything that was hidden to the outside was revealed to her when she was cleaning people's homes. She knew those people's stories inside out, and she knew how to help them in a different way. But so it's using skills that you already have. Is there somebody that couldn't do it? I think my big message to people is when they come onto the programme, do not compare yourself to anybody else. It's not a race. You don't have to think, I need to come on and I need to do this in X number of months. The programme extends, the support extends for a very long time. I always say to people, take this at your own pace. Make this real for you. Make this the first time that you actually do it and complete it. So many people do trainings, I'm sure you know, Skip, so many people do trainings or buy trainings and never complete them. And that's one thing I think I'm really again proud of. We don't let people off the hook. It's like if you come into this, you're committing to it and you're committed to being pushed and challenged and taken through and completing this program. It's really, really important.
So I've got one question before I want to jump into the actual structure of the program, which we're getting a lot of questions about. I'm super excited to hear this, but my one kind of heart-based question that's coming up for you is you're clearly phenomenally talented and phenomenally gifted intellectually, emotionally, is very obvious. Why did you choose to build this program for so long? Why was this something that you said, this is part of my life's work? And what sort of motivated you or inspired you along the way? Why this versus going out and doing all of the other opportunities I'm sure you've had?
And it's so interesting. And the first thing I would say is, yeah, I'm intellectual, I'm able, I'm good at writing, I'm good at creating things. But you know, I had the same anxiety as everyone else about putting myself out there. It's like going in front of people and speaking and thinking, oh my God, I'm thinking, oh, I need to plan it. I need to know what I'm going to say. And then thinking, oh no, I just need to allow myself to be me, because that either connects with people or not. But there's a lot of fear initially for a lot of people coming on the program. I think it's quite funny now. It's a bit like, I've learnt it all and I can do it, and I've graduated and you've told me I can do it. And then this moment of them thinking, but I can't tell anyone. I can't tell anyone I'm doing it. So it's like, I haven't told my husband I've even been doing this. And there's that incredible moment of just saying, just try something different. Just put yourself out there. Just do it. Know that I always call it these deep knowings. Know that you have something to offer, and know that what you have to offer is valuable. It doesn't have to reach hundreds of people. And initially, when people are putting themselves out there, it reaches a smaller number of people. But there's nothing that you can do, nothing I can write, nothing I can buy, nothing I can experience that will match that moment where somebody gets an aha moment. As someone that's been stuck with something for years, and it might be that we recognize this in ourselves, our own patterns, and to be able to interrupt that and think, oh, there we go again. So those questions are like, why do I always go in such rubbish relationships? And rather than just thinking, oh, it's just something about me, the ability to think, hang on a minute, here's one of these rubbish relationships approaching me. I'm going to make the choice not to do that. So there's something about allowing yourself to just be you, and knowing that that's enough. And that's Marisa's whole philosophy, isn't it? I'm enough. And actually moving that from paper to believing it. I've had to do quite a bit of work. I love it in the program. We do this as well. This have a journey that sits alongside. So you're learning technically, but this self-development learning. So I still do things every day. I write, notes to myself. I deal a lot with, I said, thoughts matter. So if I'm thinking this thought, how does it make me feel? And if I feel like that, what kind of choices will I make? Let me think a better thought. So it's this learning to interrupt and to be able to take somebody, let's just think about, it's the power, and that's to say it shouldn't be a power dynamic between a therapist and a client, but it absolutely is. To be able to work with someone that's hidden themselves across their life because of the experience they had as a child, that hasn't excelled, somebody that may have, that's a tough one, but may have been abused physically or sexually, somebody that's been diminished, spent their life being told that you're not worth anything, you'll never amount to anything. And you shouldn't believe those things about yourself. Don't be ridiculous. You can't possibly do that. So anyone that's heard that, I say, absolutely you can. And there's time. I love that Marisa said, create a better ending. There is time. Live the life you deserve. It's time to get a better life. And I absolutely think that that's what I've done for myself. I've understood myself so much better. One of my big challenges is boundaries. I'm rubbish at putting boundaries, I was rubbish at putting boundaries in place. But there's something that Marisa said, do what you love and love what you do. It's a really simple phrase, but why spend our life trying to resolve things that are harmful, or being engaged with things that are harmful for us, when we could choose to engage with things that are productive? And it's almost that fear of what has been anchors us to a place that doesn't produce anything positive in our life. And the fear of success, so you've got the fear of failure, haven't you? The fear of success, and just embrace that and really see that as an energy that's taking us forward. I love that we can look back, but I'm a strong believer that we look back to make sense of where we're going. And that's what I think I brought into that school, that passion, that absolutely everybody that trains with us is going to reach their North Star. They're going to reach that place where they have complete belief in themselves and what they're doing. They know the technique works. They know that they can make a positive impact. They have this incredible support in the program around the marketing, everything else that comes at the other end of being a solopreneur, of getting a business going. But that.
So, yeah. So
Yeah.
let's dive into that. Let's start talking about what the program actually involves. So we've talked about all the different people that are interested. You've referenced so many amazing stories of the types of people that have gone through the
Mhm.
program. What does it look like? So someone's on a call with one of our team members, right? And they decide RTT is for me. And for the purposes of keeping it simple for now, let's say that they decide to do the virtual classroom, right? The virtual live classroom component of the whole RTT program. What's
Mhm.
the first thing that happens when someone signs up and they start the program?
And so the first thing that happens is we invite you to join the networking community. So you sign up, you'll get like what we call the quick start guide. And the quick start guide just says things like, make sure that you can work on Zoom. If you don't have Zoom downloaded, make sure you know how to run your mic and get your camera working well. There's all sorts of guides that come out as well. So if you don't know how to do that, here's a guide that can help you do that. So you get something sort of immediately that gives you 5 things to do to get started quickly. You get access to the online program within 24 hours of signing up. And immediately you are then dropped into our Facebook group. In there is everybody else that's going through this program. And it's all to say, all of the people that are just slightly ahead of you. I have to say, it's a really beautiful space. It's a space where I've never worked anywhere where people willingly share what they've learned. And as people go through the program and towards the end, you can hear people saying, oh, I've got a client coming on anxiety or the phobia of spiders. Has anyone worked with this? And people are like, yeah, I did that last week. Here's the program, the protocol I used with them. Here's a script I used with them. Here's some ideas that came up for me in the session. It's a really beautiful, nurturing space. We love people to go in and introduce themselves initially so people get to know you. So that happens. You have an accountability buddy, someone that keeps you on track all the way through the program. And that's a bit more of a tough role. So that's like, I mean, I love that when you say to somebody, what are you going to do this week? And they say, well, yes, I'm going to start to think about, it's like, no, actually, what are you doing this week? I'm going to do module 2. And then you come back next week and say, have you done module 2 yet? No, I haven't. And then say, I'm definitely doing it this week. By the 3rd week, someone from the team will be phoning saying, hey, what's going on? You still haven't got down to this. Let's see what's going on in your mind. What's blocking you? So we're using a lot of techniques on you as well as you learning them as you're going through. So the other thing you'll do is, well, I should have said, the e-learning component, the learner platform is incredible. It has videos of Marisa doing sessions. It has scripts of everything that you need to say to clients, particularly in those initial stages. It strips it right back to learning, how do I connect with a client? What's the first thing I need to say to my client? What do I do in an intake? What do I do in a consultation? How do I garner enough information to begin a session without spending too much time in that? So there's a lot of informative instructions. You can go through that completely at your own pace. It builds in sophistication as it goes through. It takes each of the tools. So RTT itself is made up of 13 absolutely phenomenal different tools. And when we initially teach you that, we teach you in a very, very sort of linear approach. Do this, then you do that, then you do this, and then you do that. As you become more aware of the tools, and these tools have strange names because they're so practical, left hand, right hand. So what Marisa's done is really stripped out all of the things that are very difficult to get our head around about the mind. And we've got very practical examples. Something's in your left hand, something's in your right hand. Left hand we're letting go of, right hand we're moving towards. It's very easy for people to think, oh, now I do left hand, right hand. They remember what these things are. Role, function, purpose. Something is playing a role, a function, and a purpose in your life. What is that? Do you need it anymore? How do we manage secondary gain? Meaning you think that the gain you get from this thing is more important to you than letting it go. So there's a whole range of really incredible tools that slot in. We teach you each one in isolation, so you understand what it is, what it's trying to do, and how you use it in the sequence. And then as you get more experienced, you learn how to use it in different places in sessions. Sometimes you think, oh, this session is going to be all RFPI because I really need to work with this client on negotiating losing these limiting beliefs. We need to stay with that. And I'll get them to come back and I'll do command cell therapy or a transformation with them in a follow-up session. So the teaching around each of those tools is really vital. But as I said, you go through them in your own pace. What we learned very quickly is that there are maybe 4 or 5 key things that we need you to understand in much more depth. So you'll be invited to what we call virtual classrooms. And they are, just imagine a classroom of unruly children coming in, having some teaching. What we don't do is teach you anything that you can read or watch. So this time is really, really super protected because it's what you need to practice. And the practice is the way that you become good at this. It's like, I love Marisa says, you don't learn to swim by reading a book about it. You don't learn to become an RTT therapist by reading about it. You have to practice. And so these virtual classrooms are about 4 or 5 hours long. And it's taking a component or a tool, it's having these incredible trainers model that for you. And then it is overcoming your worst nightmare. It's been thrown into a room with 3 people in triads and you actually practicing that. What happens in those rooms is you go into the room, you practice a segment, trainers are coming in those rooms and they're observing you. And what they're providing is feedback. Gently to begin with, perhaps say this, have you thought about that? What would happen if you asked this question there? Maybe you want to reconsider how you're doing that. Let's think about what could be done differently. The brilliant thing about the triads is the most informative space is being an observer, seeing people trying to do it. Let's get away from trying to be Marisa. No one else is going to be Marisa, and we don't expect people to. We want everybody to be themselves. We want Ariel to be Ariel. We want Sian to be Sian. We want to use those tools and kind of find our groove with it. So it's very important. So each of those days, you will come out of those days, I guarantee, flying, feeling super confident, thinking, oh my God, I've done it. Particularly the first time you put someone into hypnosis and you think, is that it? Oh my God, I've done it. I could do it, and go off and start practicing with people. It's a really great feeling. And that starts to develop the confidence to come to terms with the more complex tools. So for me, I think of hypnotherapy, it's just, when I think of RTT, hypnosis is just putting person into a state of mind when you can begin the therapy. The therapy is all of the tools. So we put someone into hypnosis to use the tools. And I've always I used to talk about that a lot. What's the difference between other types of hypnotherapy? So hypnotherapists traditionally would spend a long time putting someone into hypnosis, telling them that they're in hypnosis, having them acknowledge that they feel they're in hypnosis, and then doing like suggestion therapy. I know it's moved on from there, but it was a game of 2 halves. Let me put you into hypnosis, convince you that you're in hypnosis, and then do suggestion therapy. With Marisa's approach, you put someone into hypnosis, there's no time for that. It's fast. You learn rapid transformational techniques. And the reason you do that is because the person has to be able to do it themselves at home. They don't have 40 minutes to talk to themselves about it. Once they're in hypnosis, all of these tools kick in. This is when you're doing the work. So this is using something that may be like from Gestalt, when you're dialoguing with a hurter, you're dialoguing with a person that's caused you harm. Learning these really powerful tools, it's that makes the impact. That gives your client the moment, and the client goes, oh my God, and they do, oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe it was that. But once they know it, then they have the ability to choose what they do next. And so that's doing those VCs gives you absolute inner confidence. If for any reason it didn't, I think I worked out that over the course of your training, there's 22 access points where you can come face to face with someone and have your questions answered or your concerns sorted out. So each month there are masterclasses you can watch and raise questions. Marisa delivers masterclasses. Some of the graduates will deliver masterclasses about the niches that they've developed. Sometimes we do masterclasses about an advanced use of a technique. You can drop into those. There's drop-in sessions where you can just come in and say, oh my God, I'm feeling really challenged today. I've lost my confidence today. I need to talk to somebody. There's an ask the team. I can't find something. There's a drop-in for that. I can't find something. I don't know where to go. There's an incredible team of tutors. And they were all, pretty much everybody that works in the school is RTT trained. They know what the experience is like. They know what you're going through. So these drop-ins provide you with the opportunity to really say, I'm in a bad place. I don't get it. And have someone say, I know, I was there as well. This is what it means. This is what I suggest you go and look at, or let's practice. One of the big things I absolutely love is the practice circles. Again, people will go into those with trepidation. They'll be thinking, I don't want to put myself out there. I don't want people to think I can't do this. I'm not sure what I'm doing. And so we created two strands. One is I'm completely new at this, but I want to practice. And the other is I'm getting more experienced and I'd like to drill down and practice this one thing. Each month, though, these practice sessions run, you meet other people who are in the same place and you get to practice some of the techniques that you're using as if you were a therapist, taking a seat, working with a client. That is where the real learning happens, because you get feedback and someone will be saying to you, I think that worked really well, or I think that you could have improved this, or maybe I suggest that you do that. And we encourage people to do as many of those as we can. Most people do about 3, I would say about 3 a month. And I would suggest people start doing that very early on. And once you've done 1 or 2, you will completely forget your fears of doing the first one. It's the same. I said, if someone came to live, it's exactly the same. It doesn't make any difference. Doing those initially, putting someone into hypnosis, feeling that you're really stuck with a script, but knowing that they're there to guide you. And I would say one of the precautionary measures I say is do not go off script to begin with. You'll get lost. Learn everything from the scripts. And once you've got it under your belt, then start to adapt. But I don't know, is there anything else that I haven't said with that?
That's a lot of things. If we want to summarize, there are the virtual classrooms, which are pretty intensive, 4 or 5 hours at a time. You're put in trios to do practice. There's trainers bouncing around to different rooms to just help and guide and give feedback to different people. And this is all in the solely virtual option. This is not the 5-day live add-on option that some people choose, which is a whole separate thing we can get into. And then, like you said, there's 22 touch points through the length of the program on average for people, assuming that's not including like their peers and meeting up with them. That's not including, there's a lot of other touch points, of course, but as far as structured touch points, there's at least 22. And then what's the average length of time in your experience of people in the program from the day they sign up to the day that they kind of, let's just say, become an official therapist and they go out into the world?
Gradually, yeah. And we love that. We have lovely graduation. I think that's because these guys benefit from a completely remodeled online program, which is wonderful. So we spent a lot of time, spent about the last 18 months redoing that. So I think it's less time than it previously was. So I would say, I'm going to say between 7 to 9 months. And that's pretty incredible if you think about it, from going from a standing still space of, I've never worked in this thing called therapy. And to think that in 9 months' time, you could have your website up and you could begin helping people, supporting people, moving people on. So I think in terms of how much time that takes, there's a core set of components. I mean, you could get lost. And the other thing with the program is that there is so much more in there than you actually maybe initially need. There are pretty much most of Marissa's live demos will be in there. So apart from the masterclasses, you can watch these live demonstrations. You could sit and watch those for hours. And I always say to people, the best thing to do with the resources, because there's so many, is to go through the program, allow yourself, commit to doing a certain amount of hours a week. Maybe let's say that it's 5 hours a week, commit to what you need to do. And then later on, you can go back, you can go into all of those things. If you had a client coming for anxiety, what I would have done is messaged in the Facebook group, I had a client coming for anxiety, who can help me with that? I'd go back into the masterclasses and I'd be saying, looking through for a masterclass on anxiety. I'd watch that. And then I'd look for a demonstration that Marissa's done with a client on anxiety. That's how I use it. It's a resource. It's a bit like it is a library, an amazing library that you go back to. Each time you go back to things, you revisit, you get an extra nugget because your own awareness of the technique has deepened. So you will see different things every time you go back.
Yeah. And so when someone does graduate from the virtual program, I always get lots of questions, and I know we have like various accreditations and we have various like organizations that recognize RTT at different levels. Can you speak a little bit about that specifically in regards to the UK?
I always think that this is like one of those things. It's a bit like a bone of contention for me, because I definitely felt that we were square peg and round hole. That's probably not what you want me to say, but I was sort of a bit frustrated that here we are, I would say, at the forefront of a massive industry change, of being able to say there's a different way to do this, and being really upping the ante on being professional and being let's stick with the professionalism. And so for us, I'm explaining this because for us then to comply with requirements of organizations, so it's probably like organizations that are saying they will accredit our courses, was quite a challenge, because they are still rooted in what was being done before. So for a long time, for example, this is a really classic case, COVID changed the landscape for everybody, but for a long time, therapists had increasingly been saying, we want to work online. We delivered our programs online. It took the General Hypnotherapy Register in the UK, mass mobilization by lots of people, way after COVID finished, to accept that they would accredit programs that were being delivered online, because it didn't fit their mentality. It's not whether it was good or not. It's that the program says you have to do this. So they were very strict on face-to-face contact hours. And that really limited us for a long time. But that's all changed. So I have to say, this is really sad, isn't it? Not to the industry, but thank you to COVID, that put pressure on the industry to do things differently, because suddenly therapists realized that they wanted to work online. And the whole premise was, hang on a minute, if I can see clients online, I have to be able, surely I can learn online. And so there had to be a massive shift. So the General Hypnotherapy Register is one of the biggest, well, it is what it is. It's the General Hypnotherapy Register. So everybody that does hypnotherapy training will be on that register. And they validate our program. So what we have to do is outline everything we're teaching and how we're delivering learning outcomes. And it's sent over to these bodies. There's a couple of other bodies as well, sent over to them. They assess it and see whether it hits the criteria. And of course it does. And so that was super important to me, because I'm very strong on integrity. So if we say we're doing something, I want it to be done to the best standards that are possible. I just was very frustrated, and I felt like we were far in advance of them. Our techniques were going forward, and we were sort of being pulled back. So everyone will know Marisa doesn't do an induction with a pendulum. These felt, so for me, at one point I had to go on a training. This is not for the UK, for this was to be accredited by the American Board of Hypnotherapy. I had to go on a training, and that was what I was being taught, to put someone into hypnosis using a pendulum. And so it was a challenge for us. Skip, I won't lie, but I recognise that feels important for people. And so we have a lot of relationships with different bodies in Europe and in the US, and also with insurance agents. That's the biggest thing. You need to be able to get insurance. And we've built very strong, as you say, we've had a lot of people train us, very strong relationships and preferential rates for people taking out insurance with a number of big bodies. So that's the most important thing for you, that you need insurance and that's probably more important. We think when we start off that the accreditation is the most important thing, and we worry about that, and that's unnecessary. People will find you because of who you are. That's a big thing to remember. Who are you? Why are you coming into this business? What are you offering? And then what are the...
And, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of that education, especially as we get longer down the program and people get more of the experience in and do more of the practice circles and whatnot. And we've introduced in this past year the marketing accelerator, because we saw there was such a huge need to really spend a lot of time on teaching people how to become their own business, right? How to find their niche, how to, like you said in the beginning, take their mess and turn it into their message, and how to do that in a professional way where they can really help people, because ultimately a financially successful therapist is going to be a very impactful therapist. And so can you talk a little bit about how the program is constructed to help people build their sort of therapist identity and their business?
And I think, and that's something I think quite often emerges down the line, that we come into this thinking we know what our niche is, for example. And there's a lot of pressure for people to say, find your niche. And people go, oh my God, I don't know what my niche is. Marisa would still, I think Marissa's niche was probably weight, but Marissa's, we say, is a generalist. She loves working with everybody. I think I've enjoyed working with people who get burnout, but that's because I have a relationship to that. I understand it. But I think the niching is really important. And I just have one slightly funny story about that, because there was a guy that came on one of our trainings, and he came from a sort of musical acting background. And for the whole week he was with us, he kept saying, should I call myself this? Should I call myself this? And asking everybody relentlessly, what should I call my business? What should I call my business? I know that I'm going to work with other performers. I'm going to help them find their voice. It all sounded so legit and incredible. And so that's what he set himself up as. Somebody came to see him for a completely different issue, which was around impotency. And suddenly he did work with this person. He did a great job with that person, and suddenly his niche completely shifted towards working with this newly identified niche of people that were wanting to come to him, that heard that he was doing great work. So there's something about finding your niche, but I really want to say that can happen without you necessarily planning for it. But there's so much support, again, in taking you through those. We've got a whole team, haven't we, of marketing specialists. The business is hinged on that. And so a whole group of people that work with you, sharing ideas about how you can develop your niche. How do you create a social media interest? How do you create a post? How do you create some content? What do you want to say about yourself? Which elements of your story do you share? Which do you hold back? Don't give everything all at once. How do we make several stories out of your own mess and life history? And I think that you hit on it. The thing that really brought that into focus was that so many people would spend a lot of time with the technique, and then we do this, okay, you've graduated, off you go. And then they're like, oh my God, now what? How do I set my business up? And then we had a period where we were very helpful setting people's business up. And by then they were saying, well, it's taken me a long time to do that. Now I've forgotten the technique. So these things run in tandem. it's really important that you start working on the technique. It's all about developing technique, then it's developing confidence, then it's understanding, how do I put myself out there? What is my message? What do I want to propose my offer to be? Which clients do I want to attract? The biggest thing, how much am I going to charge? That's something, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable. You know, we confuse, there's another confusion here between, I want to do great work, and for that, I somehow feel that I shouldn't be charging. It's the most bizarre thought that a lot of us have. And so I don't want to charge people because they really need my help. It's like, I don't think there's any other profession where people have that thought. And I know that the Accelerated Marketing Program is all about getting you past that. So it's putting you in the place where you're ready. So you're ready with your business and you're ready with the technique, and that this is on board, you know, mindset. It's all about that you're ready. So it's a massive amount of learning. And I do keep saying you can do as much as you want. You can dive really deeply. You can ask for more. I always say to people, make this the last program you do, and make this the community that you want to be a part of. So it's not a passive experience. Be proactive. If you're not getting what you need, tell us. If something isn't working for you, tell us. If you want something more, tell us. We've got amazing people willing to be there, kind of serving you and helping you become the best version of yourself you can be, but not if we don't know. And so we really rely on people to be very vocal.
Yeah. And I mean, this program has been designed to be the highest quality, non-university transformational career program in the world. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that I've received emails from you and the team stating that there are not wasted singular words in the materials, like single words. It's literally that detailed, where so many of the course materials are dialed in to the exact words that we like. There's just not wasted space because there is so much information from all of it, right? So if we go and we look at this whole student journey, right? So we've talked about all the different people that have gone through the program and really established that the number one thing, like you said, is that they have a passion for this, that they have the desire, that they have a reason for really joining this and being a part of this. What would you say, before I get to summarizing the rest of this, what would you say when an RTT therapist is out in the world and you think about the body of all the RTT therapists that exist and how many more will exist in the future? What are they really doing for the world? If they had a function as like a singular group, what are they doing for all of us?
I've got loads of words coming into my head around that. So it's really interesting, but I've got a really strong feeling. It's like, I know this sounds really weird. It's connecting. And so at some level, RTT therapists connect with other people at a very deep level. You quite often hear things that people haven't even shared with their husbands, their partners. People have secrets. They've lived with secrets they haven't told anybody, and you get to hear them. You get to help people make sense of that. And so there's something about, isn't there, thinking, oh my God, it's like that massive ripple effect, that there's people out there doing work. Would you rather, this is quite an interesting thing, isn't it? Would you rather do a year's worth of therapy, going and sitting in front of someone and allowing them to talk about what's going on for you this week, and allowing that, facilitating people to avoid the very things that they need to deal with to make sense of their life and to live the life that they want? Just think about that. So I can either work with you for maybe a year of sitting and allowing you to talk to my story, and then thinking, you know, is there something about that you want to explore more deeply? Classical sort of psychotherapy. To coming in, to working in a room in a dynamic way that's like a wave. And I love that. It's like we talk about the rhythm of sessions, that people come in, it's a rhythm, they're maybe apprehensive. They go through a bit of a feeling of like, oh my God, I'm in pain, it's awful, coming through, and then hearing people laughing. and then leaving this session feeling renewed, feeling hopeful, feeling positive, understanding themselves. And isn't that the journey we're all on, that we're trying to make sense of our lives, that we're looking for meaning? And so doing something that helps other people understand their place, their role, their gifts, their opportunities, I can't think of anything better. So to know that I've created this structure along with Marisa that really helps people master that ability to be able to say to someone, we do this silly game, don't we, about the things like the bus stop, and you won't understand that, but the bus stop where you're listening to someone with a tirade of negativity about what's going on for them in their lives, to be able to turn around and say to someone, I can help you with that, and absolutely know that you can. That's pretty powerful. That's why I said earlier, it's a bit like an aphrodisiac. You get those magical moments. It's moving. You'll see sometimes when Marisa's doing sessions, she gets tearful. It's emotional. Knowing that you've reached somebody and that they've reconnected with themselves, I think it's incredible.
And let's talk about that. So we've gotten a few questions over time and in the chat here from Anne as an example. When you work with people on this level and you do this intensity of work with them, it can be so beautiful. But what do we do to support people or help people understand how to do this long term and how to sort of pace themselves and work with themselves as they work with people who sometimes have these incredibly traumatic experiences that are shared in sessions? And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. That the idea is that we've gone into a space and somehow we've collected all of that negative emotion and the experiences, and somehow we've absorbed it. That's what we sense when we're doing work. So it feels like it needs to be something that's retrospective. I've gone and done this work and now I need to offload. And the trick is, if you see, again, Marisa, I resort to her, it's to be armed with everything that you know before you go in the room. It's not your stuff. You're not going to absorb it. You're not ingesting it. You're not taking it from them and giving it to yourself. You're absolutely, and that's that interesting bit, isn't it? At the end of a session, you don't feel that you've taken on board that negativity. What you feel is you've helped that person let it go. And so the idea is that, the idea that you've got these heavy moments, and there will be some, and that will be in the moments where you have your kind of your deepest dark doubt about, how was that session? There's always going to be moments where you think, I wish I'd said something else. I wish that I'd done something else. You have got this incredible community that you reach out to and you say, I've just come off the back of a really tough session. Can I speak to someone? And there are people there for you. This isn't just a networking group. These people will become your best friends. These people will be with you for the rest of your life. You absolutely will form friendships with people here that you wouldn't replicate anywhere else. And one of the reasons is because you can't hide yourself. They'll know everything about you. I would say it's a bit like reverse speed dating. They know all of your deepest, darkest inner secrets, as opposed to what's your favorite movie and what's your favorite book. So you're kind of connected to these people. There's an alumni that's an incredible resource for people. You keep learning all of the time, but there's a massive amount, there's all chunks on this self-development of how do I be kind to myself? How do I be compassionate to myself? How do I give myself permission to feel these feelings or not feel these feelings? How do I give that back? How do I not sit with that? So what is self-care for me? What rituals shall I put in place? What things can I do to change the energy in my room, to go and do something that really gives me joy, that makes me feel passionate? It's an interesting thing. A dentist isn't a dentist all the time. He's a dentist when he's in that room. And sometimes with therapy, I think we think that we're therapists all the time. We go to a party and we feel that we need to start doing therapy with people. And so learning to be amazing in the session with someone, learning that it's their stuff, learning to help them work through their stuff. You're a bit like an amazing golf caddy. You're guiding them through. giving them the various tools, but it's fundamentally, it's them that do the work. It's not you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'm loving this so much. So we've got people who get the quick start guide when they very first sign up. We know the types of people, all types of people, as long as they have that passion, that desire, that intention to help others, and they feel that sort of inner knowing that they're here to create change in others and in themselves. And they probably have a decent amount of personal transformation available when they start the program. Maybe not best for the people who need massive amounts of
Yeah.
therapy. Maybe it's better for them to do that first and get to a point where they're somewhat stable and then can go through the program and really begin to step up their own internal level of confidence, of knowing. So it's great for that. And then when they get going, we've got these 22 touch points that come in various group sessions. They come in the virtual classrooms. It comes in the community in the Facebook group. It comes in probably establishing a close circle of friends that are going through the process with you, probably making friends with a couple people on the team. And then you've also got the option of doing the live component. So when it comes to the live component, first kind of give me the philosophical reason why this was designed and what it's for, and why also it's optional and not absolutely required, and why, yeah, all of that.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because it isn't something you have to do, the live, because the VCs, the online program is, I absolutely hope that it's the best online training that's out there. I used to feel really that was my commitment, to make it the best online training out there, to make it the most supported, most enjoyable training that you could do. The live is, I don't want to do, it's an indulgence. It's brilliant. I mean, I can't say don't do it, because it is absolutely life-changing. You can guarantee everybody that goes on that live, people come out of that room feeling like 10 times bigger than oh, that's probably not a good thought, 10 times bigger than when they went in. There's something incredible that happens in that room with those people. You suddenly feel you're in the right place. It's the thing when people say, oh, this is the last piece of the jigsaw. There's things about seeing someone having therapy live that's slightly different from seeing therapy on a video. I suppose it's the difference between going to the cinema and maybe going to the theatre. There's something about 60 odd people sitting together in a room, experiencing someone on a stage, sharing their pain. That's a bit like, I used to think it's like the Truth and Reconciliation Council. So there's something that really moves you with that. You cannot help but be moved. There's the fun. I mean, it's not just all about the technique, although it's quite full on. I mean, people arrive and within 1 hour, we have one PowerPoint presentation at the start, and I've always been really happy that it's just one. That sets the scene of what we're doing, and then it's full on practice, practice, practice. We show you something, you practice, you get feedback. We show you something, you practice, you get feedback. In the afternoon, you watch Marisa delivering live therapy sessions. There's a lot of learning that goes on watching. So we're saying, you know, don't passively sit there. So it's like, what do you see Marisa do? It might be linked to see how Marisa weaves in the tools, see what Marissa's doing with role function feathers. What kind of questions did Marisa ask? There's some very detailed learning that happens. There's a coming together. This is the thing I love most, a coming together of 70 people, or 65 or 70 people, however many it is, that just think, fuck, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to change my life, and I'm changing other people's lives. And that is just incredible. Again, people who have shared interests. We can replicate this online, but people have shared interests. Someone will say, oh, I think I want to work with women in the menopause. And someone else will say, oh, I want to do that. They form really great alliances with people. I want to work with children, other people wanting to work with children, coming together. There's people who've come, it's interesting, we put people in groups to begin with, And you can guarantee that those groups, for some reason, have a whole range of people who are very similar. It's like serendipity. People who are all musical or who came from a creative background, people who love traveling the world and are fairly nomadic. But that's all of this, the kind of the social. The biggest shift is that even people who haven't really, so we try and split it out with people who are very new and people who are quite experienced. And I think I've done really well in being able to balance the room. So people who have done a lot of the course and choose to come on live, we might take those people away and we'll do some accelerated techniques with those. So ways in which we and the trainers have found that you can use this technique differently and get great effect. People who are new, you go into very small groups and you have incredible trainers there. The trainers have been with us a long time. They give so much. They're willing to give so much of their own experience to really help. So you get this very bespoke approach. So we're really looking at you. So if you were coming, Skip, we'd be saying, okay, Skip, kind of like, show us what you've got. Where are you? Where are we taking you to this week? And there's a bit of a bespoke program of getting you to that place. It is all about the technique. We don't really do anything very much about marketing there. We save that up for a bit later. But it is about the difference there is developing your inner confidence. So there's a lot of scope for you to do that. Plus, some people are going to get to work with Marisa. And so that is completely life-changing.
Wow. Yeah. It just sounds incredible. So to summarize that, along with everything else is, of course, the number one goal of this program. And this program has been relentlessly designed to create the absolute best therapists possible using these particular techniques that have also been meticulously picked, chosen, and designed to be taught in a simple format so that once you can learn the 13 or more tools simply, then you can do the beautiful orchestration and the conductor experience of saying which tool goes where, and to be able to play with that from session to session with any person under any circumstances, specifically relating to the niche that ends up sort of evolving through your experience of working with people and working through the various touch points with this team of people who are very experienced in being able to help you find that and help guide you alongside your peers who are also discovering that. So you're learning in so much conjunction with yourself as you gain that confidence, as you gain that ability, as you gain the knowledge with the people that we have on the team that are helping you and guiding you, along with all the peers that are getting their own confidence. And you become so well versed in this 7 to 9 month period that most people do this in, as you become a professional and as you find your confidence and your ability and really begin to identify and create the identity of yourself as an RTT therapist. And then if you choose the live option, which we do all over the world, we've got Dubai coming up in January. We've got another Rushton because we have one in about a week, 2 weeks, but it's completely sold out. It's the biggest one we've ever had actually in the company. It's going to be 94 RTT therapists coming into a room to do this incredible work. I'm sure we're going to have lots of incredible things. We're building a little micro documentary along the journey of this one with Marisa and hopefully you. And then we've got Los Angeles coming up in June, Amsterdam in May, and another Rushton in April of next year. So lots of live experiences coming up. And obviously, you don't have to do it, but it's an incredible experience that will profoundly shift your education, your trajectory, likely in your life. And hopefully you'll make incredible friends along the way and get some really, really intense experiences in person.
You guys take this moment and do this and change your own life. So we keep talking about changing other people's lives. That's what we talk about a lot. It's your life you want to change. That's the most important one. You have to worry about yourself, what you want to do, what you want to be, where you want to go. So please take the opportunity. But it's been lovely. Thank you so much for giving me some time, some airspace. I hope I've shared something of value to you this evening.